Hello students and viewers, welcome back again to Science Capsule, a perfect self-learning tool for school children. In our day-to-day life, we come across with various experiences. For example, the smell of hot sizzling food cooked in the kitchen reaches you even if you are several meters away from the kitchen. We are able to cut through water, but in order to do the same with a solid block or a wooden block, we need a karate expert. The fragrance of incense stick lighted at the corner or the perfume spreads throughout the room, right? Then large amount of gases can be compressed into a small volume in a small cylinder. You are much familiar with LPG gas and oxygen cylinder in the hospital, right? Have you ever thought how these experiences, how this happens? Very interesting, right? This video is going to give you the reason for all these experiences. So this video is going to be very helpful, informative and knowledgeable. So watch till the end of this video. If not subscribe this channel and press bell icon so that you will be notified whenever I upload a new video. Let us start today's session. So, in order to understand the experiences what we have discussed in the beginning of this video, we should know some of the basic knowledge about the states of matter. In the previous episode, we have discussed about the characteristics of particles of matter, right? The particles of matter are continuously moving, particles of matter have space in them, particles of matter attract each other. We have discussed all these characteristics in detail. If you have not watched that video, then you can click I button and also I will provide in the description box. On the basis of the characteristics of particles what we have discussed in the last episode, matter can be broadly classified into three categories. They are solid, liquid and gases. Let us now understand the three states of matter in detail. Firstly, we will see the arrangement of particles in these three states. First picture shows the arrangement of particles in case of solid, second is for liquid and third one is for gas. In the first picture, in case of solid, you see the particles are very tightly held to one another, which shows that the intermolecular force of attraction is more. In the second picture, you see the particles are little far away from each other, which shows that the intermolecular force of attraction is little less as compared to solid. In the third picture, you see the particles are randomly arranged at far away distances, which shows that the intermolecular force of attraction is very less. So when we talk about intermolecular force of attraction in solids, it is very large, whereas in gases it is very less. Here intermolecular force of attraction plays a very important role in deciding the properties of the states of matter. See here, due to strong intermolecular force of attraction, the particles are very tightly packed in case of solid, whereas due to less intermolecular force of attraction, the particles are little far away from each other. In case of gases, you will find they are very far away from each other. This shows that the intermolecular force of attraction is very large in case of solid, whereas very less in case of gas. Intermolecular space is the space between the particles of the matter. So here in case of solid, you see very little intermolecular space, right? Whereas in case of liquid, you see large spaces are available. As compared to solid, intermolecular spaces are little more than that of solid. If you compare the intermolecular space of gas with respect to solid and liquid, here large amount of spaces are available. So the intermolecular space between the particles in case of gas is abundant. So as far as intermolecular space is concerned, the intermolecular space is abundant in case of gases, it is very less in case of solids. Now we will see the movement of particles. Due to less intermolecular space, the particles in solid can just vibrate in its own position. They cannot move from one place to another. Likewise, in liquid, they can move, but the movement cannot be at a large extent. Whereas in case of gas, you see the large amount of intermolecular spaces are available, so the particles can freely move in the matter. As far as movement is concerned, we have to see another term, that is kinetic energy. Now we discuss one of the most important term, that is kinetic energy. Kinetic energy is the energy possessed by the virtue of motion of an object. In the previous episode, we have already discussed about the characteristic of particles of matter, that is the particles of matter continuously move in a matter. If the particles move continuously in a matter, then it must have some kinetic energy. If the motion is at a high speed, then it will have more kinetic energy. If the motion is less or the particles move in a less speed, then it will have less kinetic energy. Here in case of solid, you know that the particles just vibrate about its position. So, the kinetic energy in case of solid will be very less. In case of gases, you see the particles, the motion of the particles are much faster because the particles have plenty of space. Since the gases have plenty of intermolecular spaces, hence the particles move randomly at different directions. Due to this motion, it has more kinetic energy. As far as kinetic energy is concerned, gases will have more kinetic energy and solid will have less kinetic energy. However, kinetic energy of the particles can be increased by increasing the temperature. Let us see another property. Solids are rigid in nature. What is this rigidity? Rigidity means the property of a matter which maintain its shape and size on external force. When force is applied, it does not change its shape. We know that solids have fixed shape and size, right? We can trace out the boundaries, distinct boundaries we will get, whereas liquids and gases do not possess this property. When you pour water on any surface, it starts flowing. It does not have any fixed shape. If you pour the water on surface, it flows and takes the shape of the floor. If you pour onto a glass, then it takes the shape of the glass. If you pour in a bottle, then it takes the shape of the bottle. So, it does not have fixed shape. It does not maintain its shape. So, liquids do not have the property of rigidity. Similarly, gases, it takes the shape of the entire container, right? So, rigidity is one of the property by which we can differentiate between solid, liquid and gases. Solid possess this property, whereas liquids and gases do not have this property. Let us see the compressibility. Here in case of solid, the particles are at a fixed position. On applying external force, the particles do not move, they are not free to move from one place to another, right? So, they maintain their shape. So, solids are not compressible. Here gas is the only state of matter which undergo compression. Liquids and solids do not undergo compressibility. Since you can find a large amount of intermolecular space in case of gas, right? On the basis of this property, gases can be compressed to a small volume. This is how large amount of gases are compressed in a small volume. For example, LPG gas and oxygen cylinder, you find it in the hospital. In those cylinders, large amount of gases could be compressed into a small volume due to the fact that gases are highly compressible. The next characteristic is fluidity. Here liquid and gases flow easily. When you pour water, it starts flowing. When the incense stick is lighted and kept at the corner, it easily flows, right? So, this property is known as fluidity. Fluidity is possessed by liquids and gases, but solids do not have the property of fluidity. On the basis of the characteristics what we have learned just before, let us understand how the smell of a hot sizzling food prepared in the kitchen reaches even if you are several meters away. Here two important factors are involved. One is diffusion and another one is kinetic energy. Diffusion is the intermixing of particles, right? The smell comes up to you because of the particles reach up to you. There the diffusion of the food particles take place. As a result of this, we get the smell of the food cooked in the kitchen. The particles reach up to you on the basis of kinetic energy. We know that on increasing temperature, the kinetic energy will be increased. On increasing temperature, the kinetic energy of the particles of a hot food diffuses faster, or we can say that the rate of diffusion increases on increasing temperature. So, the smell of hot food reaches for several distance due to increased diffusion, due to increased temperature. And one more fact we have discussed, that we can able to cut through water. Here the intermolecular space is plenty in case of liquid, right, so that you can freely move your hand through the water. Whereas in case of solid, we have already discussed the particles are closely packed. Due to this close packed arrangement, we are unable to pass through our hand through a wooden block or a solid block. This is the reason why a karate expert is required to break the wooden or solid block. Understood, children?